veg garden. In today's video, I'll be talking about how you can build the best soil imaginable. Now I'm going to dive straight in. I'm going to start off by saying my garden is all fill-in soil, so like it's not amazing soil, but it does the job. And what I'm doing, or what I suggest to do in the first few years, if you've got poor soil, is to broad fork, or you can even use just a normal fork, just to ease the compaction off the soil. So you put the fork in and then pull it back, just to aerate it more than anything. You're not turning the soil over, you're just breaking the compaction out of the soil. And my soil is quite waterlogged. It can get quite waterlogged, so I like to do this just to allow some air in, just to get the microbes going and healthy. So I'm going to now start talking about compost. I suggest between 1 and 2 inches, or 2 to 5 centimeters a year. That's what I generally do anyway. If it's manure, I put thicker, but I'll come on to that in a bit. So that means that each year, that's between 20 and 50 litres of compost per metre square. Now that sounds quite a lot, but a wheelbarrow is nearly 100 litres. So a wheelbarrow should do you between 5 and 2 square metres, depends on how good your soil is. So generally a wheelbarrow will do me 1 bed, and a bed is about 4 square metres for me. So I am putting it quite heavily, well, not quite thinly actually, but the first few years I've been building up, I've been putting a lot of manure. Last year and this year I've been putting quite a bit, but by next year I'll just be putting a thin little layer. Well-rotted manure is excellent for building soil fertility and soil life, but one thing I will suggest is that you mulch with manure in the autumn or winter. This is so that the frosts can help break the big lumps down into finer particles that will be a better seed bed or better place to transplant into in the spring. So as you can see, this is a hotbed and it's full of goat manure. There's probably about 800 kilograms, maybe even a ton of manure in here, and it will be by the end because I keep adding more. So that means that I'll have a metric ton by the end to mulch all my gardens, and I reckon that this one should do the whole of the top garden with the other hotbed as well. So the two of them should do the whole top garden, and maybe even have spare for the other gardens. One thing I do suggest is, with a broad rake like this one here, with about 2 inches between times, once a week over the winter, raking any manure, and that's to help it break down into smaller clumps. Whereas if you go for a fine tooth rake like this one, I don't think you'll have as good a results. It'll all clog up in here. This one's better for when you get to spring and you have the manure to rake or compost. But I generally suggest you go with a broad tined rake to start with, and do it perhaps once or twice a week. Biochar. I'm starting to really get into this biochar stuff now. I've been making a lot on my own, but I also got given some bags the other day by Dad's Biochar. They're a company based in Wales, so that's always a benefit to have a Welsh company working with me. And it's sort of like a hotel for microorganisms, so all these fungi and bacteria actually inhabit inside the biochar, and I think it's every gram of biochar has the same surface area as a football field. So if you can imagine how many grams of biochar you have, in a sack, I think they're 20 litres, so there's probably about 10 kilos of biochar in there. So that's a lot of football fields of surface area. So they really does boost your microorganism count in your soil. Also, it holds nutrients from leaching out the soil. It holds moisture, so you know you don't have to water as much. But also, if there's any contaminants in your soil, it'll soak them up and lock them away in the carbon. Yeah, and then amendments. So I'm now going to talk about soil amendments that go along with. These aren't the only way of adding fertility. They're to be used along with your compost, I suggest, or what I do anyway is I use these along with my compost. So worm castings is an amazing way of adding microbiology to the soil. A really good way of actually doing the worm castings is if you use the worm juice to inoculate biochar. That gets a lot of microorganisms out in the soil. Also, mid-season, round, larger, hungrier plants, I like to use worm castings and just scratch it into the surface by hand. I'm not digging it in, just into the surface lightly. Also, liquid teas. You know, you can do these yourself if you put lots of plant material in a bucket, chop it up fine, put water over it and let it soak with a handful of compost. This can make a really nice mineral and biological amendment. Depends on how you do it. You can use potatoes and handfuls of soil to make a biological amendment, but I generally just tend to do mineral amendments because the biology is coming from my worm castings, so that's taking away the faff of boiling potatoes and putting them in water with the compost and all that. So it's easier for me to just use the worm castings for my biological and then my minerals from the weed soaks, but they do still contain some microbiology. It just tends to lean on the more anaerobic side, which is fine because when it gets watered out, the anaerobic bacteria will die and then it'll release all the minerals. You can also have EMC, which is effective microbial solution. Oh, I think it's solution. Is it solution? EMC. Effective microbe something. Can't remember now. Concentrate. There you go. So this is from Dad's farm as well. I've used quite a bit actually to get the biochar going, and I also did a root drench over the garlic. So that can actually help your soil quite a bit because that's a concentrate of microbe. Yeah, so you got your JLFs as well, like I mentioned, the weed soaks. And another one I'm going to be using, I don't really buy much, but I have been given the Shropshire seaweed. That works quite well, the EMC, like I've already mentioned. And I'm going to be trialling this year, which is wood vinegar. It's a plant stimulant and soil improver, but it also has resistance to pests and disease, so that's always best. But it smells quite nice actually, like barbecue sauce almost, because it's when they're doing the biochar, this is the smoke that's distilled, so it's quite smoky smell. It's just distilled smoke basically into a liquid form. So comment down below how you amend your soil, or if there's any methods that I've missed in this quick video. So also comment down below of how long you think a video should be, because I do some quite short videos, around 5 minutes, and they do quite well. But the longer videos also do alright. I know less people watch them, that's for sure, but I would like to know if people prefer the longer videos that are more in depth, or the shorter videos that are more to the point, or if you like a happy medium of around 10 minutes. Just comment down below how long you think a video should roughly last, and then I'll try and work to that, because I don't want to be doing silly long videos and nobody watch them, or short videos that you don't really benefit from. I'd rather if I have a quality product that you actually enjoy watching. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll hope to see you again next week. Bye for now.